Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Storm. Storm is not Halle Berry. It is not one half of the name of a hero from Dota 2. It is a brand new physics-based, elements-focused puzzler from the same guys who made Puddle. Now, I didn't cover Puddle, but what it is a fluid-based platformer where basically you controlled some fluid and tried to, solve puzzles to basically get it to fit through a pipe and then go down through a drain and, save the world or something. It shows that this is developed by the same guys, or at the very least published by the same studio, because in this game you're going to be manipulating the elements, including, the rain, which creates water, as you can see, thunder, lightning, and the wind, in order to basically grow a beautiful, beautiful garden. So I played about an hour of this so far. It's a little similar to Elemental, which I covered about a month ago, but it has its own kind of unique thing going for it. I have mixed feelings on it so far, to spoil it from the top. But this is a game that I could definitely see some people being into, but I do find it frustrating at times. So apparently we are about 12% of the way through the campaign here, 20% of the way through the levels after about an hour of play, so I think that would put us at about 48 levels for the entire game. I'm going to assume that no, do not delete the saved game. Did I accidentally hit delete game? I thought I went to, I went to new game, I see. Select a file, yes, please, this one. And we will continue our adventure here. There are other modes. The modes are just kind of like superficially different than the campaign mode. The campaign mode is all about solving puzzles. Oh, you know what, actually, forget this. I did want to go to a new game because I am stuck on a specific level here, so let's quit. And this should take us back to the main menu, and then we will go back to new game. So apologies for the delay there at the start of this. So we're going to start a new game, and I'll explain what's going on, because as is usual when I cover puzzle games, I like to cover puzzles that I've already done, so I can talk without, frying my brain or getting stuck on the same puzzle for like 20 minutes. So essentially, as I skip through the dialogue here, the main premise of the game, or the main focus of the game, the main objective, if you will, is to take seed A from tree A, and deposit it on this soil over here. So the level is complete when you've deposited all the seeds that you have on all of the soil that is fertile and available, and that's, denoted by basically like this dark brown soil over here. So as of right now, if I scroll up to the top here, you can see that we have one kind of weird orb here, and if you look closely, you might see some leaves kind of tumbling about in there. This is not Josh's laundry machine. This is actually a windstorm that we can create. So by clicking my mouse, I can create the wind, and then I can, rotate it around. I can have it blow this way if I want to, but instead I'm going to have it blow this way. And this will blow the seed off of the tree, and then start its magical journey, hopefully towards this slope. Yes, I am aware of that. Hopefully towards this slope, and then it'll fall down the slope and deposit itself into the soil over here, where it will bloom into another tree. So that should be the end of the first level. And the game is very good about tutorializing itself, but at the same time, I have found that it has gotten pretty darn difficult. Oh, it's not the end of the first level. We have one more puzzle, which again should be pretty easy for us to sort out here. But as you get more and more elements, and we will get more and more elements, probably up to 3 over the course of this video, things become more and more difficult, and this is the kind of game where conceptually, I don't think it's that difficult. Usually it's pretty simple. You're like, oh, I gotta get this seed to, float on the water, and then I use wind to blow it onto the shore, and then it makes a tree. That's, the depth of the puzzles that I've encountered so far. But in execution, it can be goddamn infuriating sometimes, especially because there's some elements that will break parts of the environment, and you need to break them constructively in order to help you get through. But if you break them destructively, you have to restart the level from the very beginning. And it's not like there is a checkpoint system on these like 2-part levels where once you get the first tree, you can't, backslide past that to the start. Well, you'll see it as we move along. It's going to make it easier to describe. But suffice it to say, I've spent most of my time failing in execution. Yes, I understand. Failing in execution rather than concept, which is unusual for a puzzler, I would say. But anyway, Elemental was kind of similar to that as well. So there are some areas where elements cannot be created. So in this like wind tunnel here, I cannot create a windstorm. But outside of it, I could, and then use the wind to blow through the tunnel, and then we created this tree down here. So we're just going to scroll around. And as we picked up an orb there, that was an orb that gave us a second wind current. So we can now use 2 wind currents simultaneously, which is going to be essential when it comes to pushing... Oh, I botched this pretty hard. When it comes to pushing the seed up a hill like this. And, part of the premise of what we're going to have to be doing, or part of the necessary requirements for solving some of these levels that we're going to come across as we play this longer and longer, is that we're going to need to kind of have micro goals. Our macro goal is obviously going to be to finish the level and grow all the trees on the fertile soil, but the micro goal might be to pick up a few more orbs so we actually have the necessary elements to do it. So, we do now have the water element, and we're still very much in the tutorialization aspect of the game now, but we will be able to come be able to become, didn't mean to get crass there by accident, a little bit more independent and hopefully do a little bit of more kind of freestyle stuff in the very, very near future, because the game doesn't take too long to reach a point where it becomes kind of difficult and also kind of abstract, or unusual at least, which is kind of cool. So I did succeed there. This is one of my qualms with the game, or one of my minor issues, and it's kind of a necessity given the nature of the game, but you know, when you're playing a puzzle, and this is a physics-based puzzle platformer, even though it's kind of an unusual one, one of the things that makes this kind of a frustrating one for execution is that the elements are not totally controllable. Like, as you can see, I can use the water to push this seed up there, but I had to take a couple of tries, and sometimes I'm doing things exactly the same way each different try, but I'm getting different results, which is a little bit of an issue for me because it feels a little bit inconsistent. Like, sometimes you call down 2 rainstorms, and just due to, you know, gravity or momentum, it doesn't quite make it over, but then you do it again and it does. I like it when games like this are reliable. You know, something like a braid, it's always reliable as long as you know exactly what you're doing. I suppose the same could be said. You could probably make the argument that the same could be said here. So, what I'm trying to get at, though, is that doing the same thing can sometimes have different results, and that, like, triples the amount of time it takes me to figure out how to do things sometimes, simply because, you know, it's harder, I guess. So this is one of those levels where we do have kind of 2 different objectives that we're going to need here. So you can see there is some soil over here, but if I just demonstrate, I can't just call down a rainstorm and have the rain push the seed over here to make the tree, because the slope here is downward in this direction, so the seed actually, there's no way for physics to basically carry it there. So instead what we're going to do is call down some rainstorms like this, and we're going to be able to pick up a windstorm over here. And by picking up this windstorm, things actually get a lot less frustrating once you do have the windstorm, because when you only have the rain, it's really frustrating because you can really only affect yourself directly in a vertical direction. You can make yourself float, you can make yourself slide a little bit, or, you know, carry through with the current a little bit, but with the wind, you can actively be like, no, I want you to go here, stop being such an asshole about things. There we go. So we will get 1 tree planted here, and that will grow its own seed, and then we can use this seed to get the windstorm down here. So, you know, a lot of these frustrations about the inconsistencies in execution, they vanish a little bit when you have other elements, including lightning, which we'll get very soon, but also wind primarily, because this is the big one when it comes to being able to influence our direction. So another important element of the game, and this is probably the last really important element of the game, except for destructible environments that we have to learn through the early phase here, is that we do have this ability to hold, like, the left control key. Like, let me just cause the seed to fall. And if we hold left control, then the seed will go back to its tree. So if you end up in a situation where you kind of botch the execution on something and the seed is maybe trapped somewhere behind a rock, you know, as is wont to happen in physics-based games like this, then you can do something about it. I'm just going to use the wind and the water to hopefully push the seed back in this direction, and then we'll create a couple of rainstorms over here to help him float over. The cooldown on wind is really low, so it's easy to use it a lot. But anyway, as I was saying, this is important because you are going to end up in a situation where, you know, sometimes things are going to become unwinnable, and you'll find your seed trapped under something, and it'll put you in a difficult situation. But there are also times when the level will be unsolvable because you did something to the environment, and that's the more frustrating element. And no amount of holding the left control button is going to save you there, which is why in our menu here we have a try again button, which basically means start the level from the very beginning, because you can make these levels unsolvable for yourself. There's some people who feel that, you know, if you have a puzzle game with with levels that you can, well, let me put it this way. If you have a puzzle game with a design where players can accidentally prevent themselves from being able to complete your level, then that's bad design. I don't necessarily feel that way, but it is a little bit of a not a concern, but an irritant, if you will, when you know exactly what to do, but you just can't manage to make yourself do it. So you have to constantly restart and do, you know, maybe the first half of the level is really easy, but the second half is really difficult. It's frustrating when, I botched that miserably. It's frustrating when, yeah, you know how to do the first half of the level super, super easily, but unfortunately you can't complete the level because, I wonder if this will work. No, it's blowing the bubbles out of the way. Oh, it actually did kind of work there. Yeah, but you have to continue. Hopefully, you'll see what I mean. I'm not explaining it eloquently at all at this point. Please go over the ramp there. No, it's not going to. This is what I mean. Like, the concept here is really easy. Attach the water to the bottom. The water will cause bubbles to form. If you get the seed inside of the bubbles, then it'll float upwards, and then you use the wind to kind of push the. Like, seriously? Okay, let's try this again. Basically, water plus this bubble area here, this is steam, I guess, creates bubbles that float up in the air. Those can carry seeds, and when they carry seeds, you can then use the wind to push it over here, and it'll plant itself in the ground. Unfortunately, again, in execution, this is a little bit more difficult. Or maybe fortunately, because maybe the game would be far too simple if that's, you know, the way things worked. I think I may have botched this again. Sometimes there's a little bit of trial and error involved. I might also just be really bad at this. You know, those are not mutually exclusive necessarily. And we'll do exactly the same thing here. And we should be getting lightning on the next level, if I had to guess. So let's just get the seed inside of the bubbles here. And then push it over again. Going back to the point that I was saying earlier, I guess the frustrating element is... Oh, we're going to get the lightning ability here. Good. Oh, no, that's just another rainstorm. Okay. The frustrating thing sometimes is the first half of the level maybe is super easy. You get that first tree planted, no problem. But then you do something irreversible, and you have to do something irreversible. And unfortunately, you know, like, you destroy a piece of the environment that needs to be there, but you botch the execution of, you know, getting across some bridge that you've created out of a makeshift log or something. And then you're like, oh, well, I can't replicate that, so I have to restart the level from the very beginning. That is how I've spent probably half my time with Storm so far, is just, oh, well, let's do another 5 minutes of this level, or, you know, 45 seconds of this level to be fair, just to get back to the point where I'm probably going to fail it 10 times. I'd prefer if there was like a rewind, actually, like a braid style, where I could just rewind and try it over and over and over. I think that would improve my experience with the game a lot. So, we are going to be introduced to the lightning mechanic here. Basically, with middle mouse button, I can strike lightning. That did a very piss poor job. But with middle mouse button, I can strike a lightning bolt. This will cause our seeds to kind of leap a little bit. So basically, this is going to be how we jump. And as much as I've compared this to Elemental, and there is an element of that, because they're both, you know, physics-based puzzlers that use the elements as their, like, primary focus, there's differences as well. Oh, I should, yes, you'll fall there and my seed will regenerate, but this is what I mean by destructible environments. Lightning can be used to destroy our environments and create makeshift bridges like this, for example. This is not a good example of how things can go wrong yet, though. We'll see one of those a little bit later. So first things first, let's create a bunch of rocks down here, and then we'll, you know, sometimes there can be, like, multi-stage puzzles, I guess, would be one way to put it, although it might not be 100% accurate. Then we can use the wind here, and that should be able to push the seed over here. Then we can use the wind again, and it'll get on fertile ground. So things are starting to get a little trickier now. We're not totally past the tutorialization yet, but I'm not sure how many more elements are in the game, because after this, for the rest of the spring levels, and I believe there are 12 levels per season, there's not any more elements introduced, at least as far as I've gotten, which is like level 11. So, let's, you know, do this. This looks pretty self-explanatory. This is a good example of a level where you have to collect more elements in order to help you on your quest here. So we've created our first tree. We also collected a wind orb. And yes, we now have a heavy seed. And heavy seeds are bad because they don't float. So it puts us in a position where, well, first things first. I don't have lightning yet. Okay. It puts us in a position where we have to have, like, a bridge that floats instead. And when these bridges float, then we can either float on them, or we can go under them, if it's like a gate, for example. So I think in this situation, we want to create a bunch of rainstorms here so that our heavy seed can kind of go under. Oh, and then that actually worked out really well for us. Then we want to create a bunch of rainstorms so our heavy seed can float upwards, and then our wind should be able to push this guy up there, although it's not necessarily working out as I would like it right now. There we go. And we're not going to have any lightning on this one, actually. So this is just the introduction of the heavy seed, and then tutorialization is basically over. So we'll push you up here, and then we'll call all 4 rainstorms like so, and this should totally work. If I could get... This is another thing that's frustrating, is these, like, 2-part bridges that sometimes are not aligned with one another. They can F you up a little bit sometimes, and, you know, the physics don't always interact with themselves in the best way. Which is, you know, it may be a sign of a physics engine that is realistic, but by the same token creates some frustrating interactions sometimes, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, and creates a little bit more frustration than you would think in a game like this, which is, you know... Maybe not build like this, but seems like it could be billed as like a minimalist, like relaxing experience or something like that. I have found this to be quite contrary so far. So this is a tough level. If I remember correctly, anyway. We start with a little bit of wind. We'll pick up some lightning. We'll use the lightning to destroy that log. And then we'll try to get this guy moving fast enough where I don't have to use... There's like a little bit of platforming involved here. More than in the rest of the game. Notice that the environment does change when you use your skills. That should plant that one. So it'll switch from like a tranquil environment to a windy one with leaves like bustling around, and then, you know, the thunderstorm obviously does some other stuff to it, like making it super dark. The game I don't think looks fantastic. It's kind of pretty, but kind of gives me the vibe of like a more realistic looking or a more traditionally artistic braid, I guess, but I don't necessarily mean that in necessarily a positive way. I'm missing wind blob here, which I don't know if that's going to be a total deal breaker. We might as well go back and get it, because it should be easy enough. So let's just blow this guy over here. Alright, that came out kind of not in the way I wanted it to. I wanted to do a tell-all expose on CNN, but okay, one more wind should be able to push. Oh, you're so close to being on the safe platform. Yes, okay, that's good. Now we gotta make this jump, and this is what I mean when I say that execution is a hard part. Presumably, what I want to do is first use some water, and then this will create bubbles, and then I'll move this... Oh god, I immediately regret this decision. Just fall down, please. Good, good, good. Okay. So we'll try this again with the wind, and I botched it again. Let's try it. Create the rainstorm. The rainstorm will create the bubbles. Then we use the wind to kind of push them across, and we do have 2 of these that we can create at a time. And then, if necessary, I really thought that lightning bolt would take him up to the top. So yeah, you can see we're gonna have to start back where we started the third part here. This is not a level where there's, at least to my knowledge, there's not like any way to completely fuck yourself over, so you have to completely restart the level from the beginning. That being said, that's real bad. That being said, it's annoying nonetheless to have to constantly go through this stuff over and over. And it does put a damper on the experience, and I mean damper as I use that rainstorm, only with the slightest bit of pun intended. So I would say, you know, despite the way that the game looks, it looks like this really relaxing time that, you know, oh, hey mom, I found this new puzzle game that you might be into. Not to, you know, be derisive about it, but it's not because your mom will hate you because it's really frustrating. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad game. But there are times when I want to throw my computer out the window when I play it, which is not necessarily the most positive praise, but by the same token, again, you know, Super Meat Boy is like that sometimes. It doesn't necessarily mean the game is bad. That being said, this is not, in my opinion, nearly the same caliber of game as something like Super Meat Boy, obviously. So maybe we'll do one more level over the course of this video. Maybe we'll do 2. I just want to see... This is one of the ones, I think, where you can accidentally screw yourself over, and I really want to talk about that because I've been kind of lampshading it all video, and I want to, or highlighting it all video, I guess, to correctly use the trope there. And I would be remiss if I didn't at least do something to kind of illustrate it, otherwise, you know, I'm just talking out of my ass. So we are going to pick up a lightning bolt here. We'll have some more platforming, because as you might expect, the, like, purple weed there is not the Snoop Lion variety, it's actually like the Poison Ivy variety, and it will kill us if I touch it, but if I dump... Okay, so again, the jumping is sometimes a little bit of an issue. That was my fault, not the game's, though, because I just did really poorly. And I really wish that, like, one thing that would make this game a lot more palatable, in my opinion, would be a more lenient checkpoint system, because this game is like... I already made it past this first obstacle, and it's a frustrating obstacle. Like, the reason it's frustrating is because, like, the rainstorm is so unreliable. You got to get physics working in your favor. And I've already done it. I've demonstrated that I can do it. I understand, you know, how it works. Why can't we just move on from there, basically? I don't understand why I have to do this, like, demonstrate many, many times that I can do this. There we go. We made that jump. That jump's not that hard. I'm kind of surprised that I missed it on the first attempt. Now... important to note here, we do have a heavy seed, I believe. I failed at this puzzle many a time. So, we can't float. So what we have to do is first use the windstorm, first use the lightning to make ourselves kind of fall down and then move over here to put ourselves on the platform, because the platform has to float instead of us. And then we'll like use a rainstorm to bring down the rain here, and we'll be able to use the lightning to destroy those rocks. And this is kind of a cool interaction. You can't, I'm not gonna say that it's not. At the same time, this can be, oh, now, this is what I mean. Now we find ourselves under this log, and there's no way for me to get out of here. I really thought I was going to beat the puzzle on the first try there. But now, you know, if I use lightning, then I break the log, and now there's no way for me to get out of here and beat the puzzle. Because remember, I can't float. The rocks are obviously too heavy to float, as you can see right here. I can't float either, so there's no way for us to get to the top. So we have to go back and try again and do everything from the start. This is by far the worst part of this game. Conceptually, cool idea. In execution, good elements, but also way more frustration than I would like from a game like this. And, you know, when it comes to... you know, games like this, a lot of people are, you know, like, oh, good idea. I would rather play a game with bad execution and a good idea than an unoriginal game that was done well. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm the kind of guy who, you know, I like original games. I hope that's obvious to you if you're a fan of the channel. But I value execution above all else, and I think this definitely has some elements where I feel like it could have been done maybe a little bit better in a way that would make this a more pleasant experience, maybe is a better way to put it. But, you know, it does have a little bit of novelty in that conceptual way, which is fine, it's cool. I just wish I didn't have to spend so much of my time redoing stuff that I've already done in order to, you know, prove that I can do it again. And, you know, here we might have fucked ourselves again because the rocks accidentally ended up on top of the log instead of under the log. This is really frustrating because the puzzle's easy. You make the log float, the rocks go underneath, and then you lightning bolt the rocks, and the rocks go underneath, and then you float up. You use the wind to, like, push yourself over there. It's the easiest kind of chemistry in the world to figure out, but to actually execute it takes forever, and it is not aided from an experiential standpoint by the fact that I have to constantly try again, and the fact that the checkpoint system is so, like, few and far between that I have to go through this, like, rainstorm starting part every single time. I'm getting better at it, which is fine, but there's no reason for me to be having to get better at it because I've already done it. There's no gold for me to mine here. There's no experience for me to grow from. Again, only to half be pun intended there. So, I do wish that that had been tweaked a little bit because it's the main thing that keeps me from thinking that this is a game that's easy to recommend. Now... Okay, what we want to do here, let's try this again, and we'll try to be a little bit more diligent, because obviously execution is exceptionally important, not merely the conceptual idea of how to solve these puzzles. So the wind might be able to blow us over there, but it appears not. Oh, it did! Okay, good. So we are actually going to be able to succeed here, but that's going to be me doing it, basically, me ending the video of Storm here. I think I've given a balanced opinion on the game. I really like the concept. The concept's cool. You know, Elemental kind of primed me for this, and this is a cool, not really iteration, but kind of variation on that theme. That being said, there are some little experiential problems here that keep me from being able to recommend this easily. So there will be a link in the video description to pick this up on Steam. It is available for $10, I believe, because its opening week sale is over or soon over by the time that this video goes up. It's a little bit of a mixed bag, a little bit disappointing because I think this could have been a much better experience with a little bit of tweaking. That being said, it's not terrible. Maybe look for it in a Steam sale, but of course, if you do want to pick it up at full price right away, if you've got to have it, there is a link in the video description below. So as always, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.